It's estimated that 10% of the total population are homosexual.
It's not contagious. You are or are not a homosexual.
We do not employ homosexuals. If we discover homosexuals...
1969 marked the beginning of the LGBTQ community's fight for equality. A lot of anti-gay activism erupted through the United States like rapid fire in conjunction to the valiant and ongoing fight for equality.
Since as far back as 1924, the LGBTQ community saw consistent oppression, hate, and slander. Groups of people, including the government, spread false information to the public, calling specifically gay men predators and perverts.
A lot of anti-gay thought was driven by religion, the status quo, and discomfort. An article from the TFP Student Action lists common counter-arguments, including things such as the belief that gay marriage and relationships are illegitimate, that they violate natural law, and that such a relationship denies a child the right to a father or a mother. They also go as far as to argue that gay marriage is a moral wrongdoing and should not be turned into a civil right. They say that it offends religion and cultivates a sense of understanding and acceptance regarding something that is wrong.
Up until 1964, every state in America considered homosexuality a crime. Illinois, on January 1st of 1964, was the first state to revoke the sodomy laws, therefore decriminalizing homosexuality. It was not until 2003, due to the U.S. Supreme Court 6-3 decision in Lawrence v. Texas, that the same-sex sodomy law was broken in every state, and all private sexual conducts were declared protected by the Liberty Rights Due Process Clause of the Constitution. This change was one of the many results of the Stonewall riots. On June 28th, a police raid of the gay club the Stonewall Inn turned violent. Although the club was breaking the law by serving liquor without a license, the gay community rebelled because of the police department's current focus on primarily gay clubs. It was not until 4 of the rebels were arrested and forced into a paddy wagon that a crowd that had formed to only watch began to participate. The protest spread to neighboring streets and was not stopped until the New York riot police deployed. These actions, although violent, are the most credited source for the gay liberation movement. In the following days, there were demonstrations throughout New York, and different gay, lesbian, and bisexual civil rights organizations were formed, most notably the Gay Liberation Front. To many historians and individuals, this event is the first large-scale protest of the equal rights for all sexualities. In 2015, Centropolis Production even formed a movie around this. However, it is important to know that the leaders of the movement depicted in the film do not match up with the real-life leaders. The leaders of the true Stonewall story were actually transgendered, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and a mixture of different races, not just the depicted white gay males in the film.
This movement picked up speed during a complicated time in American history. The fight for rights was put against the introduction of HIV and AIDS, which was also at the time called the gay man's disease. Some would go so far as to say that these diseases were gay diseases, even though a virus actually causes AIDS, not by a genetic defect or a lifestyle. As for the gay connection, it is a fact that AIDS was first detected in gay men, and for a brief period, desperate researchers examined the so-called gay lifestyle for clues as to causation for a disease that was so strong and debilitating. This resulted in the creation of the acronym GRID, Gay-Related Immune Deficiency. But GRID was only adopted from early 1982 until July 27, 1982, when the Centers for Disease Control realized, amongst other things, that there was no such thing as a universal gay lifestyle. Rather, it was just a disease that was transmitted through sexual relationships. Other events occurred as well within the legal and federal system. After the American Psychiatric Association announced that homosexuality was no longer a part of the mental disorders list in 1973, some thought changed, but not enough to change the wind of things completely. Homosexuality went through various description changes, going from 1974's sexual orientation disturbance to ego-dystonic homosexuality, and later gender identity disorder. It should also be noted that during the 70s, an important declaration in regard to homosexuals was made by Dr. Spitzer. He somehow provided data showing that there was no clear correlation between homosexuality and mental illness, which alleviated some animosity towards homosexuality. During this time, there were also small and important changes occurring within the LGBTQ community. In 1977, Harvey Milk, an openly gay man, won a seat on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. He introduced the Gay Rights Ordinance, protecting gays and lesbians from being fired from their jobs, and he led a successful campaign against Proposition 6, an initiative forbidding homosexual teachers in school education systems. Another important milestone occurred in 1980, and that was when, at the Democratic National Convention held at New York City's Madison Square Garden, Democrats took a stance supporting gay rights, stating that all groups must be protected from discrimination based on race, color, religion, national origin, language, age, sex, or sexual orientation.
Today we see the effects that these events made. Stonewall was a catalyst for the beginning of an internal fight for equality. Although the legalization of marriage on June 6, 2015 was a breakthrough that many in the community had been fighting for, we see that the movement has not stopped. The current issues surrounding transgender bathrooms and discrimination in the workplace show that the gay liberation movement is still going on. Stonewall marks the beginning of a movement that will always be relevant in our society and acts as a guide for action. We as a nation are becoming more aware, and with that awareness, we see increasing change being asked for and given. We as a community will progress the gay liberation movement that started in 1969.